Welcome back to the channel, my Canadian cousins. How are you guys today? Bonjour, bienvenue. Today I'm going to be reacting to a video that has absolutely nothing to do with tariffs, Donald Trump, the trade war, or any of the absolute crazy nonsense that is going on completely as a result of the Trump administration's hostility towards Canada, 100% unwarranted. To my cousins in the true north, strong and free, stay strong and keep those elbows up, my friends. We here in the United States need you also to resist for yourselves, but also for us, because that's the way you're going to reach more and more Americans. One way I thought I could continue the support is to continue doing what I've always done and just further my journey of learning and appreciating Canadian history, Canadian culture, and the special historic relationship that we have had. And I know it's going to be damaged for quite some time, but there are people like me down here that are going to do our best to continue to foster it and continue to make it meaningful and special to us. All right, my friends, so I had done a video a long while back about, it was the Log Driver's Waltz, pure nostalgic Canadiana, and I absolutely loved it. And although I had never seen it before, I watched it, it did feel like, you know, some kinds of Americana content that I had seen as I was a kid growing up in the late 70s and the 80s, and it just had that feel to it, and I really loved it. And so somebody watched it recently and commented on that video that I should check out. I think it's the National Film Board produced also something called The Sweater, and they said that they were sure I would like it. JTCFC1 was the viewer. Don't know your name, but for the suggestion, I thank you. I looked up the video and I saw the thumbnail, and I saw that it's certainly about a hockey sweater. Obviously, we don't wear sweaters anymore, but in honor, I'm wearing my New York Islanders hockey jersey. I'm very excited to get into this. Don't know what it's about other than a hockey sweater, so must be set back in the 40s, 50s, or something like that, or before. Don't know. We're gonna get to it now. If you like this content, as always, my friends, please consider liking and subscribing if you are not already, and I will see you on the flip side.
When I was a boy, growing up in a small village in Quebec, two events were mandatory: the Mass on Sunday and the Saturday night hockey game.
C'est l'équipe au Canadien. Blake, Masdell et Richard. Voilà la mise au jeu. La caoutchouc passe de Masdell à au Blake. Blake se rend jusqu'au centre de la glace, s'approche de l'échec par Émile Bouchard qui reprend la rondelle. Les deux se bousculent le long de la clôture. Et l'arbitre siffle un hors-jeu. 33 secondes dans cette troisième période. Et toujours Canadien 2, Toronto 2. La rondelle est mise au jeu. Émile Bouchard.
So already I like it. It's somebody thinking back to their childhood, listening to the radio, so maybe 30s and 40s. I think I heard, I don't speak French, I can understand a very little bit. I heard them talk about the Montreal Canadians are playing the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I believe I heard the name Maurice Richard in there, and Blake and some other names. I certainly recognize Maurice Richard. Okay, my friends, cool.
Richard reçoit la rondelle à la ligne bleue. Il lance vers le filet de Brodin. Le disque est pris par Stewart, qui à son tour lance le caoutchouc à la ligne bleue. Et c'est Blake qui reçoit la rondelle. Passe à Masdell. Masdell à Richard. Richard lance. Et goal! Maurice Richard! C'est maintenant 3-2 pour le Canadien. Alors qu'il ne reste plus que 14 secondes à jouer en troisième période. Maurice Richard avec des passes de Blake et Masdell. Plusieurs joueurs du tricolore sont sur la glace pour féliciter Richard.
I remember very well the winter of 1946. We all wore the same costume
1946.
as Maurice Richard did, the red, white, and blue costume of the Montreal Canadiens, the best hockey team in the world.
By the way, I'm pausing right here. Maurice Richard holding the Stanley Cup. I'm a New York Islanders fan for my entire life, and I've always, though, as someone who loves history, I've always loved and respected and looked at the Montreal Canadiens with some sense of historical awe, the old-time dynasties, the beautiful jersey, the Habs history and everything like that has just always been something that I've found very, very cool.
We all combed our hair like Maurice Richard, and we used a kind of hair glue to keep it in place. We laced our skates like Maurice Richard. We taped our sticks like Maurice Richard. We cut his picture out of all the newspaper, and we knew everything there was to know about Maurice Richard. On the ice, when the referee blew his whistle, both teams would rush at the puck. We were 5 Maurice Richards, again 5 other Maurice Richards, throwing themselves on the puck. We were 10 players, all wearing the uniform of the Montreal Canadiens, all with the same burning enthusiasm. We all wore the famous number 9 on our backs. How could we forget that?
I love this. He's sleeping there with the sweater. I love the, you don't have to be Canadian to be brought back to times in your childhood where some sport figure was heroic to you, or, you just loved it so much. You ate, drank, slept it. I grew up loving hockey. I never played ice hockey in the sense that people who were in climates where ponds and stuff would stay frozen thick enough for long enough to skate on. When I was a little kid, a little bit, but there was one near my house and some kid fell through, and it was land that belonged to the federal government, and the federal government filled it in because it was too dangerous. So I played a lot of deck hockey, and ultimately when rollerblades became a thing, I played on rollerblades. I really wish I had the opportunity to play hockey on ice skates. Those who lived near me, did it through leagues that played in indoor ice rinks. And I know that, that was hard to get ice time and such. So that this is very cool. I mean, I guess the equivalent for us was just, grabbing our baseball mitts and heading to any number of baseball diamonds around our town. But hockey has always been one of my favorite sports. And my Maurice Richard was Mike Bossy from the New York Islanders, great Canadian, died a few years back, maybe more than a few years now. Time passes so quickly. But what they have in common with each other is that Maurice Richard was the first hockey player in NHL history to get 50 goals within 50 games, the first 50 games. And it wasn't done again until 1981, I believe, by Mike Bossy. And that's the reason I know who Maurice Richard is. I probably would have known as I grew, but I've known who he was since Mike Bossy reached that milestone, because it was such a big deal and was so widely reported on that I knew that this great figure from hockey history, Maurice Richard, Mike Bossy, did the same thing that he did. And I think there's only been a handful since Bossy's achievement. I think it's maybe 4, if I'm not mistaken, something like that. It is just a fantastic, amazing achievement. Okay, back to the video, friends.
One day, my Montreal Canadiens sweater was too small for me, and it was ripped in several places. My mother told me, if you wear that old sweater, people are going to think we are poor. And then she did what she did whenever we needed clothes. She started to look through the catalog that the Eaton Company in Montreal sent us every year. My mother was proud. She never wanted to buy our clothes at the general store. The only clothes that were good enough for us were the latest styles from Eaton's catalog. My mother did not like the order forms that were included in the catalog. There was too much English on them, and she did not understand a word of it. When she ordered my hockey sweater, she did what she always did. She took our writing pad and wrote in her fine school teacher's hand, "Dear Mr. Eaton, would you be so kind as to send me a Canadian hockey sweater for my boy, Rock, who is 10 years old and a little bit tall for his age. Dr. Robitaille thinks he's a little too thin. I'm sending you $3. Please send me the change, if there's any. I hope your packing will be better than it was last time." Mr. Eaton served my mother's letter promptly. 2 weeks after she wrote it, we received the sweater. It was one of the greatest disappointments in my life. Instead of the red, white, and blue Montreal Canadiens sweater, Mr. Eaton had sent the blue and white sweater of the Toronto Maple Leafs.
No!
I had always worn the red, white, and blue sweater of the Montreal Canadiens. All my friends wore the red, white, and blue sweater. And besides, the Toronto team was always being beaten by the Canadiens. With tears in my eyes, I summoned up the strength to say, "I never wear that uniform." "First of
Don't tell me
all,"
Mom's gonna
said
make
my
him wear it.
mother, "you're going to try it on. If you make up your mind about something before you try it, my boy, you won't go very far in this life." I was crying. "I can't wear that." "Why? This sweater is a perfect fit.
God.
Maurice Richard would never wear it." "You're not Maurice Richard. Besides, it's not what you put on your back that matters. It's what you put inside your head. You'll never make me
That'd be like somebody making me wear a New York Rangers jersey. No, no, no.
put in my head to wear a Toronto Maple Leafs sweater." My mother sighed in despair and explained to me, "If you don't keep this sweater, which fits you perfectly, I'll have to write to Monsieur Eaton and explain that you don't want to wear the Toronto sweater. Monsieur Eaton understands
Monsieur
French
Eaton.
perfectly, but he's English, and he's going
He looks like the Monopoly guy a little bit.
to be insulted. Do you think he's going to answer us right away if he's insulted? Spring will come before you can play a single game. Just because you did not want to wear that nice blue sweater. So I had to wear the Toronto Maple Leaf sweater. When I arrived at the skating rink in my blue sweater, all the Maurice Richards in red, white, and blue came and looked at me.
Red-faced.
The referee blew his whistle, and I went to take my usual position. The coach came over and told me that I could be on the second line. By the third period, I still had not played. One of the defensemen was hit on the nose by a stick. It started to bleed, and I jumped into the ice. My moment had come. When the referee saw my Maple Leaf sweater, he gave me a penalty because there were already 5 players on the ice. That was too much. It was too unfair. This is persecution. It's just because of my blue sweater, and out of spite, I crashed my stick against the ice so hard that it broke. I bent down to pick up the pieces. When I got up, the young curate on skates was standing in front of me. "My child, you're not going to lay down the law around here just because you're wearing a Maple Leaf sweater. A good boy never loses his temper. Take off your skate and go to the church and ask God to forgive you. Wearing my Toronto Maple Leafs sweater, I went to the church and prayed to God. I asked God to send me right away a
Quebecois, French Canadians historically have been Roman Catholic, right?
100 million moths that would eat up my Toronto Maple Leafs sweater.
Is he praying to God or to Maurice Richard? Okay, that was super cute, my friends. I so enjoyed that, and it was refreshing today to be able to make a video like this with all that's been going on and all the things that I've felt compelled to talk about recently and will continue to talk about as things develop because it's vitally important. Nevertheless, this was a really good respite from that. All right, my friends, thank you so much for your support and for watching. Stay strong, Canada, the true north, strong and free. Keep those elbows up, my friends. We'll get through this. Peace.